The police presence was significant to escort 76-year-old Cardinal George Pell back to his car after a court hearing at Victoria State's County Court, where he will soon be facing 2 trials on charges of multiple sex offences. In March 2016, he gave testimony in this Rome hotel via video link to Australia and met with victims of abuse, but his words meant little to his accusers.
I've just met with about a dozen of the Ballarat survivors, support people and officials. And I've heard each of their stories and of their suffering. It was hard.
At the Vatican, there was little reaction except to say the leave of absence granted to Cardinal Pell to clear his name is still in place. Last year, the chief of Vatican finances said he had discussed his departure with Pope Francis.
So I'm very grateful to the Holy Father for giving me this leave to return to Australia.
In St. Peter's Square Sunday, Father Fortunato Di Noto and members of his Meter Association to combat child sex abuse celebrated the 22nd World Day for Children victims of pedophilia. He said the church has made efforts, but there are still what he called silent pockets of indifference.
Much more can be done by creating a consciousness. It's a common responsibility because the problem of pedophilia is a global one.
A Chilean victim of clerical sex abuse who was invited by Pope Francis to the Vatican echoed Father Di Noto's words.
Victims around the world need to be believed, respected, and taken care of in the way that the church should do.
Carlos Cruz and 2 other abuse survivors had several days of private and group meetings with Pope Francis, who, like his predecessor Pope Benedict, has vowed zero tolerance on clerical sexual abuse. Cruz said the pontiff was able to transform their stay into something very constructive.
For almost 10 years, we have been treated as enemies because we fight against sexual abuse or cover up in the church. These days, we met the friendly face of the church completely different from the one we had seen before. Pope Francis formally asked us for forgiveness.
The Chilean victims, like many others around the world, now hope Pope Francis will take concrete action to end what they called the epidemic of sex abuse and cover-up in the Catholic Church. If not, they said, their talks will have been in vain. Sabina Castelfranco for VOA News, Rome.